Imagine sitting alone in the break room at 2 a.m., pretending to check your phone while your coworkers laugh in the corner about hiring standards going downhill. You're Maya Chen, 26 years old, working the night shift as a data analyst at a tech company in downtown Seattle. You're good at your job. Actually, you're exceptional. But that doesn't matter when your manager makes pointed comments about health insurance costs while looking directly at you. When your coworkers exclude you from lunches and after-work drinks. When someone leaves diet pamphlets on your desk like they're doing you a favor. You've learned to make yourself small, to apologize for taking up space, to eat lunch in your car so no one can make comments. Tonight, you're working late finishing a project that 3 other people were supposed to help with, but mysteriously became too busy to complete. The office is empty, except for you and the cold glow of your computer screens. And then you sense it, someone watching you from the darkened executive floor above. When you look up, you see him. Damian Corvus, the company's mysterious new CEO who only appears at night and never attends daytime meetings. His eyes meet yours through the glass, and for the first time in years, you don't see judgment. You see hunger, recognition, desire. What you don't know yet is that Damian is a 3,000-year-old alpha vampire, and he's about to show you that you were never the problem. They were. Maya Chen had perfected the art of becoming invisible. She knew exactly how to time her arrival at the office. 7:55 p.m., 5 minutes before the night shift officially started, so she could slip into her cubicle without encountering the day shift employees leaving. She knew which routes through the building had the fewest people. She knew how to eat lunch in her car with the windows slightly cracked so condensation wouldn't form and draw attention. Most importantly, she knew how to pretend she didn't hear the comments. "Corporate really needs to update the chairs in here," Jessica from Quality Assurance had said last week, loud enough for half the floor to hear. "Some of us are putting a lot of strain on the furniture." The pointed look in Maya's direction had been unmistakable. Maya had kept her eyes on her screen, fingers continuing to type, acting like she hadn't heard, like she didn't feel her face burning. Like the comment hadn't lodged itself in her chest alongside hundreds of others just like it. Tonight was supposed to be quiet. The night shift data analytics team was small. Just 5 people responsible for processing reports, monitoring systems, and handling time-sensitive data requests. Maya preferred nights specifically because there were fewer people, which meant fewer opportunities for humiliation. But tonight, the break room ambushed her. Maya had gone to refill her water bottle, a simple task that should have taken 30 seconds. Instead, she'd walked in to find 3 coworkers clustered around the coffee maker: Tyler, Marcus, and Jen from the West Coast monitoring team. The conversation stopped the moment she entered. "Oh, hey Maya," Jen said with that particular tone. The one that sounded friendly on the surface but had edges underneath. "Working late again?" "Just the usual," Maya replied quietly, moving toward the water cooler. She could feel their eyes following her. The weight of their attention made her hyper-aware of her body, of how much space she occupied, of every movement. "You know," Tyler said casually, "I was reading this article about how sitting for long hours is really bad for your health, especially for people who are already, he gestured vaguely, at risk." Maya's hand tightened on her water bottle. "Thanks for the concern." "I'm just saying the company gym is free for all employees," Tyler continued. "I go every morning before my shift. It's really made a difference. I could show you some beginner routines if you want." "That's really generous of you, Tyler," Marcus added with barely concealed amusement, always thinking of others. Maya wanted to point out that she walked 3 miles every morning. that she'd been swimming twice a week for the past year, that her recent physical had shown excellent blood work and blood pressure, that her body was not a problem to be solved by Tyler's unsolicited gym advice, but she'd learned that defending herself only made things worse. It became being sensitive or unable to take helpful suggestions. So instead, she smiled tightly and said, "I'll keep that in mind." She filled her water bottle as quickly as possible and left, hearing the moment the conversation resumed behind her, quieter now, but with muffled laughter that followed her down the hallway. Back at her cubicle, Maya pulled up the project timeline she'd been assigned 2 weeks ago. It was supposed to be a team effort, 5 people working together to analyze 6 months of system performance data and create predictive models for capacity planning. Somehow, over the past 2 weeks, Maya's 4 teammates had all found reasons they couldn't contribute. Tyler had a conflict with another project. Marcus claimed he wasn't strong with that type of analysis. Jen had taken 3 days of sick leave and then declared she was too behind on other work to help. Their manager, Steven, had simply told Maya she was capable of handling it and that it would be good experience. Translation: you're not worth the political capital it would take to force the others to actually work with you. So Maya had done what she always did, put her head down and completed the entire project herself. She'd stayed late every night, worked through lunch breaks, and refined the analysis until it was actually better than it would have been with the others' half-hearted contributions. The project was due tomorrow morning. Maya had planned to finish it tonight, submit it early, and maybe, just maybe, prove she deserved to be here. She pulled up her code and tried to focus, pushing the break room incident out of her mind. That's when she felt it. The sensation of being watched. Maya's cubicle was on the 3rd floor of the 5-story tech building. The 4th floor housed executive offices, conference rooms, and management. The 5th floor was supposedly reserved for high-level meetings and strategic planning, though Maya had never been up there. The building had an open design with glass walls and transparent floors that allowed views between levels. During the day, this created a sense of connectivity. At night, with most lights off and only security lighting active, it created something else, a sense of exposure. Maya looked up from her computer and immediately saw him. A man stood on the 4th floor, positioned at the glass barrier that overlooked her workspace. Even from this distance and in dim lighting, she could make out his silhouette. Tall, broad-shouldered, wearing what looked like an expensive suit. He wasn't moving, wasn't pretending to be doing anything else. He was simply watching her. Maya's first instinct was fear. It was past midnight, the building should be nearly empty, except for night shift workers and security. Who was this person, and why was he staring at her? She looked back at her screen, trying to ignore him. Maybe he was security doing rounds. Maybe he was another late-working employee. Maybe if she didn't make eye contact, he'd leave. But the prickling sensation of being watched didn't fade. Maya glanced up again. He was still there. And now, as her eyes adjusted to the low light, she could see him more clearly. He had dark hair that fell just past his collar, pale skin that seemed to catch what little light existed, and features that were striking even at this distance. And he was definitely looking directly at her. Maya's heart rate increased. Should she leave? Report this to security? But report what? That someone was standing on the executive floor looking in her direction. That could easily be explained away, and she'd look paranoid, oversensitive, problem-causing. She decided to pack up her things. The project was 90% complete anyway. She could finish it at home and submit it before dawn. Getting out of the building suddenly seemed more important than working late. Maya saved her files, shut down her computer, and gathered her bags. When she looked up one more time, the man was gone. Relief flooded through her. See? Nothing to worry about. Just someone working late who happened to be near the window. She headed toward the elevator, her footsteps echoing in the quiet building. The night shift workers were scattered across different floors and departments. She might not see another person until she reached the parking garage. The elevator arrived with a soft ding. Maya stepped inside and pressed the button for the parking level. Just as the doors began to close, a hand caught them. The doors reopened, and the man from the fourth floor stepped inside. Up close, he was even more striking. His features looked like they'd been carved by a master sculptor. Sharp cheekbones, strong jaw, eyes so dark they appeared black in the elevator's lighting. His suit was clearly expensive, tailored perfectly to his frame. He carried himself with the kind of unconscious confidence that came from never doubting his right to occupy space. Everything about him screamed wealth and power, the exact type of person who normally wouldn't acknowledge Maya's existence except to complain about her work or make assumptions about her capabilities. "Working late?" he observed. His voice was deep, with an accent Maya couldn't quite place. British maybe, but older somehow. Like he'd learned English before regional accents fully developed. "Just finishing a project," Maya replied cautiously, pressing herself against the elevator wall to maximize the distance between them. "The capacity planning analysis," he said, and Maya's eyes widened in surprise. "I reviewed the preliminary work earlier today. Impressive methodology." Maya didn't know what to say. How did he know about her project? Who was he? As if reading her confusion, he smiled slightly. "I should introduce myself. Damien Corvus. I'm the new CEO." Maya's mind raced. The new CEO. She'd heard rumors about him, how he'd acquired the company 3 months ago through some complex private equity deal, how he'd immediately implemented changes, restructuring departments and replacing senior management, how he was brilliant but mysterious, never appearing during business hours and conducting all his meetings at night. Some people joked he was a vampire. They had no idea how right they were. "I didn't realize you worked this late," Maya managed, trying to keep her voice steady. "I prefer night hours," Damien replied. "Fewer distractions, more productive." His dark eyes studied her with an intensity that made her uncomfortable. Not because she felt threatened, but because she wasn't used to anyone looking at her this directly. Usually, people's eyes slid past her or focused on her body with judgment. His gaze felt different, evaluative but not critical. The elevator descended in silence for a moment before he spoke again. "I've been reviewing personnel files and project assignments. Your work consistently exceeds expectations. Your code efficiency is among the highest in the department. Your analytical models are more sophisticated than those produced by team leads with twice your experience." Maya wasn't sure how to respond. To direct praise, it felt like a trap. "Thank you," she said carefully. "So why," Damien continued, "are you doing the work of 5 people on what was designated as a team project?" The question hung in the air. Maya felt her stomach tighten. This was dangerous territory. If she complained about her coworkers, she'd be labeled as difficult. If she claimed she could handle it alone, she'd be given more work without additional compensation or recognition. There was no winning answer. "I work well independently," she said finally. "That's not what I asked." Damien's tone wasn't aggressive, but it was firm. "I asked why you're doing work that was assigned to 5 people. I reviewed the project allocation. Tyler, Marcus, Jennifer, and Priya were all designated as team members. Yet according to the code repository logs, you've completed 97% of the work yourself. He knew. He'd actually looked at the details rather than just accepting the surface explanation. Maya didn't know whether to feel relieved or more anxious. They had other priorities, Maya said quietly. I see. Damien's expression didn't change, but something in his voice shifted. And your manager, Stephen, accepted this arrangement? He said I was capable of handling it. I'm sure he did. The elevator reached the parking level and the doors opened. Damien made no move to exit. Maya Chen, that's your full name, correct? She nodded, confused about why he was asking. How long have you worked here? 3 years? And in those 3 years, have you received any promotions, raises beyond standard cost of living adjustments, recognition for the exceptional work you consistently produce? Maya felt something crack in her chest. She'd told herself she didn't care about those things, that she was just grateful to have a job, to be employed, to be tolerated. But hearing someone else point out the injustice made it harder to pretend it didn't hurt. The tech industry is competitive, she said, repeating the line Stephen had given her during her last performance review. Advancement takes time. No, Damien said flatly. Advancement takes recognition of merit, which you clearly possess but aren't receiving. He stepped out of the elevator and turned back to face her. You're wasted here, Maya. Wasted on people who are too small-minded to recognize your value. The elevator doors began to close. Maya caught them, suddenly needing to ask, "Why do you care?" Damien smiled, and for just a moment, Maya could have sworn she saw his teeth. Too sharp, too white. Because I recognize quality when I see it. And you, Maya Chen, are exceptional exactly as you are. Then he turned and walked into the parking garage, leaving Maya standing in the elevator with her heart pounding and her worldview slightly tilted. Maya didn't go home. She told herself it was because she wanted to finish the project at the office where she had access to all the systems and databases. But truthfully, Damien Corvus's words had unsettled her so much that she couldn't imagine sleeping. You're exceptional exactly as you are. No one had ever said anything like that to her. Not about her work, and certainly not about her as a person. People usually added qualifiers. You'd be pretty if you lost weight. You're smart, but you need to work on your presentation. Great work, though you should consider a more professional appearance. Always the but. Always the implied inadequacy. Damien hadn't done that. He'd looked at her personnel file, analyzed her work output, and concluded she was being underutilized, not that she needed to change, that the situation needed to change. Maya returned to her cubicle and threw herself into the final sections of the project. She worked with fierce concentration, perfecting every algorithm, double-checking every analysis, making the report so thorough and professional that no one could find fault with it. She was so focused that she didn't notice him until he spoke. It's 3:47 a.m. Most people would have gone home hours ago. Maya jumped, her heart leaping into her throat. Damien stood beside her cubicle. She hadn't heard him approach, hadn't sensed his presence until he was right there. You scared me, she said, pressing a hand to her chest. My apologies. I move quietly. He glanced at her screens. Still working on the capacity planning project? Just finishing the final visualizations. Maya saved her work reflexively, suddenly self-conscious about him seeing her code. What if it wasn't as good as he'd said? What if he'd been exaggerating? May I? Damien gestured to her screen. Maya hesitated, then nodded. He leaned closer, and she caught his scent. Something like cedar and night air, completely unlike the cologne-drenched smell of most men in the office. He scrolled through her report in silence, his expression unreadable. Maya felt sweat forming on her palms. This was the CEO, looking at her work, finding all the flaws she'd missed. Remarkable, he said finally. The predictive modeling here is genuinely innovative. You've identified efficiency patterns that our previous analysis completely missed. This will save the company approximately $2.3 million annually in infrastructure costs. Maya blinked. What? Your recommendations for server allocation and processing distribution. Damien pointed to a section of her report. They're brilliant. Most analysts would have simply extrapolated from existing data. You identified underlying inefficiencies and proposed solutions. This is senior architect level work, Maya, possibly beyond that. He straightened and looked at her directly. I'm implementing immediate changes. Effective tomorrow, you're promoted to senior data analyst with corresponding salary adjustment. I'm also removing Stephen as your direct manager. You'll report to the CTO instead, and I'm sending a department-wide memo making it clear that project teams will be held accountable for equal contribution or face performance reviews. Maya felt dizzy. This couldn't be happening. People like her didn't get sudden promotions. They didn't get rescued by CEOs. They certainly didn't get told they were brilliant. Why are you doing this? She asked. Damien was quiet for a moment. When you've lived as long as I have, he said carefully, you learn to recognize when someone is being systematically diminished. You're surrounded by people who want you to be small because your competence threatens their mediocrity. I won't tolerate that in my company. How long have you lived? Maya asked, then immediately regretted it. What a weird question. But Damien smiled, that strange, too sharp smile. Longer than you'd believe. Long enough to know that you, Maya Chen, are absolutely perfect. The changes Damien promised were implemented with startling speed. By the time Maya arrived for her shift the next evening, she'd finally gone home at 5 a.m. and slept until 4 p.m. Her employee portal showed a new title, a salary increase that made her gasp, and a reporting structure change. An email had gone out to the entire data analytics department announcing new accountability standards for team projects. Her coworkers' reactions were immediate and predictable. Did you sleep with him or something? Tyler had muttered when he saw her new title on the department roster. Maya had ignored him, but the comment burned. Of course they'd assume that, because in their minds, there was no universe where she deserved advancement based on merit alone. For the next week, Maya barely saw Damien. He was busy with high-level meetings and company restructuring, but she felt his influence everywhere, in the respectful tone her new manager used, in the way people suddenly stopped leaving diet pamphlets on her desk, in the fact that her work was being properly credited in company reports. Then, on Friday night at 11 p.m., she received a message on the internal system. Please come to the executive floor 5th level, East Corner office, DC. Maya's hands trembled as she rode the elevator up. She'd never been to the 5th floor. It required special keycard access that only top executives had, but when the elevator opened, the access panel glowed green without her touching it. The 5th floor was dark except for dim accent lighting. Maya followed the hallway to the east corner, where a door stood slightly ajar. Warm light spilled out. Come in, Maya, Damien's voice called. She pushed the door open and found herself in a stunning office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seattle skyline. The city lights glittered like stars. Damien stood by the window, backlit and impossibly elegant. "Thank you for coming," he said. "I wanted to speak with you privately." "About what?" Maya stayed near the door, suddenly aware of how alone they were. "About what I am," Damien replied, "and about what I'm offering you." He turned to face her fully, and his eyes caught the light, reflecting it back in a way that human eyes shouldn't read, like a cat's eyeshine, but intentional. "I'm not human, Maya. I'm a vampire. I've existed for 3,000 years. I've built and destroyed empires. I've watched civilizations rise and fall. And in all that time, I've learned something important. The world is full of people trying to make others smaller so they can feel larger." Maya should have run, should have screamed, should have done anything except stand there listening. But something about the way he said it, calm, factual, almost sad, made it feel true. "You're serious," she whispered. "Completely." Damien took a step closer. "I came to this company because I sensed something. A pattern of cruelty, people being systematically diminished. When I investigated, I found you. Brilliant, capable, kind, despite how you've been treated. Everything about you is exactly right, Maya. The world just trained you to believe otherwise." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because I want to offer you a choice." Damien's voice was gentle. "I can give you power, Maya. Transform you into something that will never be diminished again. You'd be strong, confident, literally powerful. No one would ever make you feel small again." "You mean, become a vampire?" "Yes, but only if you want it. Only if you choose it freely." Damien held her gaze. "I'm not saving you, Maya. You don't need saving. I'm offering you the tools to become who you already are inside. Someone extraordinary who refuses to be made small ever again." Maya's mind reeled. Vampires, transformation, immortality. Everything Damien was saying sounded insane, yet somehow she believed him. Maybe it was the evidence, his nocturnal schedule, the way he moved silently, those eyes that reflected light wrong. Or maybe it was simply that his existence explained the inexplicable certainty she'd felt since meeting him. "What would it mean?" Maya asked. "Becoming a vampire? You'd need blood to survive, though you'd still be able to eat regular food if you chose. You'd be sensitive to sunlight, not fatally, but uncomfortably. You'd be significantly stronger and faster than humans. Your senses would be enhanced. You'd heal quickly from injuries, and you'd age very, very slowly. Essentially, you'd be immortal, barring violence or accidents." "And the cost?" Damien smiled slightly. "Honest questions. I appreciate that. The cost is separation from human life as you knew it. Your relationships would become complicated. You'd watch friends and family age while you didn't. You'd need to be careful about revealing your nature. And you'd be connected to me through the transformation. As your sire, I'd be responsible for teaching you to control your new abilities." Maya walked to the window and looked out at the glittering city. Below, normal people were living normal lives, going to jobs where they were appreciated, having friends who didn't mock them, existing in bodies the world didn't constantly critique. She'd spent years trying to be smaller, quieter, less visible, apologizing for existing. "Can I ask you something?" Maya said without turning around. "Anything." "Why me?" "Really? You said you sensed something, but there are probably thousands of people in this city dealing with cruelty. Why did you specifically seek me out? She heard Damien move closer, though his footsteps made no sound. Because you reminded me of someone I knew long ago. A woman who was brilliant, but lived in a time when women's intelligence was considered unnatural. She spent her entire life making herself smaller to fit into a world that feared her capabilities. By the time I met her, she was old and dying, full of regret about the life she could have lived if she'd been born in a different era. His reflection appeared in the window beside hers. I couldn't save her. I didn't fully understand vampire nature then. Didn't know I could offer transformation. But I promised myself that if I ever encountered someone else being systematically diminished for arbitrary reasons, I would offer them a choice she never had. The choice to be powerful, to be seen, to take up exactly as much space as they deserve. Maya turned to face him. And you think I deserve power? I think you already have power, Maya. You have brilliance, resilience, and kindness despite years of cruelty. What I'm offering is the physical and social power to match what you already possess internally. The confidence that comes from knowing no one can hurt you anymore. The freedom that comes from not needing their approval. Maya thought about Tyler's comments, Jessica's pointed looks, Stephen's dismissals. 3 years of being treated as less than, of working twice as hard for half the recognition, of making herself invisible to avoid pain. If I say no, she asked, what happens? You keep the promotion and the salary increase. You keep the protection from workplace harassment. You continue being exceptional at what you do. Nothing changes about how I value you, Maya. The transformation is an offer, not a requirement for my respect. Maya appreciated that. He wasn't leveraging her vulnerability, wasn't saying accept this or lose everything. He was genuinely offering a choice. She took a deep breath. I need time to think about it. Damien nodded. Of course. Take all the time you need. The offer has no expiration date. But even as Maya said it, she already knew what her answer would be. Maya spent the weekend researching vampire mythology, trying to separate fiction from reality. If Damien was telling the truth, how much of the legend was accurate? She couldn't exactly Google real vampire transformation side effects. By Sunday night, she'd made her decision. She returned to the office at 11 p.m. and went straight to the 5th floor. This time, the elevator access worked for her. Damien had programmed her keycard. He was waiting in his office, reading what looked like a very old book. He glanced up as she entered and seemed to understand immediately. You've decided, he said. Yes. Maya's voice was steady. I want the transformation. Tell me why I need to know you're choosing this for the right reasons. Maya had thought about this extensively. I'm not doing this to escape my problems or because I hate myself. I'm doing it because I'm tired of living in a world that treats my existence as a problem to solve. I'm tired of being kind to people who aren't kind to me. I'm tired of making myself smaller. You're offering me the power to exist fully, and I want that. I deserve that. Damien smiled, genuine warmth in his ancient eyes. Yes, you do, very well. The process is painful, I won't lie to you. I'll need to drain enough of your blood that you're near death. Then you'll drink mine. The transformation takes several hours. You'll feel like you're burning from the inside. But when it's done, you'll be stronger than you ever imagined. I'm ready, Maya said. Damien guided her to a leather couch in the corner of his office. Lie down. Try to relax as much as possible. Maya positioned herself on the couch, her heart pounding. This was insane. Absolutely insane. and yet it felt right in a way nothing else ever had. Damien sat beside her. I need your permission one more time. Once we begin, the process must be completed or you'll simply die. Are you certain? I'm certain. Then close your eyes, Maya. And remember, this pain is temporary, but what comes after is forever. He bit his own wrist first, holding it to her mouth. Drink, as much as you can. The blood tasted copper and strange, but also somehow right. Maya swallowed repeatedly, feeling warmth spread through her body. After a moment, Damien pulled his wrist away and bent toward her throat. This will hurt, he warned. Then his fangs pierced her skin. The sensation was strange, not as painful as Maya expected initially. She felt the blood leaving her body, felt her heartbeat slowing, felt consciousness starting to fade. Just as she thought she might slip away entirely, fire exploded through her veins. Maya screamed. Every cell in her body felt like it was being rewritten. Her human nature fought against the transformation, trying to cling to what it knew. But Damien's blood was stronger, relentless, remaking her from the inside out. Stay with me, Maya. Damien's voice cut through the pain. Don't lose consciousness, fight through it. You're strong enough. Maya focused on his voice, used it as an anchor while agony consumed her. Time became meaningless. She existed only in pain, in transformation, in the space between human and something more. And then, gradually, the pain began to fade. Sensation returned, but different, enhanced. Maya could hear Damien's heartbeat, could smell the leather of the couch and the age of the books on his shelves, could feel the texture of the air against her skin. She opened her eyes, and the world had changed. Maya sat up slowly, marveling at how her body felt. Strong, alive, like she'd been living her entire life at half capacity, and someone had finally turned up the volume. How do you feel? Damien asked, watching her carefully. Different. Everything is more. Maya looked at her hands. They appeared the same but felt capable of so much more. Is this what you experience all the time? Yes. It takes adjustment, but you'll learn to control the enhanced input. Damien handed her a mirror. Maya's reflection shocked her. She looked like herself, but somehow more. Her skin had a luminous quality. Her eyes had gained depth. Darkness, she looked powerful. Beautiful, not in the conventional way magazines advertised, but in a way that suggested strength and confidence. Maya struggled for words. Like yourself, Damien finished. Like you were always meant to look. Transformation doesn't change who you are, Maya. It reveals it. Over the next several nights, Damien taught Maya everything she needed to know. How to control her strength so she didn't accidentally break things. How to hunt ethically, taking small amounts from willing donors or from blood banks. How to move through human society without revealing her nature. But more than the practical skills, he taught her confidence. How to take up space without apology. How to speak directly instead of softening her words. How to recognize her own value. On her first night back at work after the transformation, Maya walked into the office differently. Her posture was straighter. Her movements were more assured. And when Tyler made a snide comment about her dramatic personality change, she stopped, looked him directly in the eyes, and said clearly, "My work speaks for itself, Tyler. If you spent half as much energy on your own projects as you do commenting on other people, you might actually meet your deadlines. If you'll excuse me." I have actual work to do. She walked away without waiting for his response, feeling his shocked silence behind her. The transformation wasn't just physical, it was psychological. Maya no longer cared about making herself smaller to make others comfortable. She took credit for her work. She called out inequity when she saw it. She existed fully, unapologetically. And to her surprise, people responded positively. Her new manager praised her leadership. Her direct reports, she had direct reports now, respected her clear communication. Even coworkers who'd previously dismissed her began taking her seriously. 3 months after her transformation, Damien called her to his office. "I wanted to see how you're adjusting," he said. "Perfectly," Maya replied, and meant it. "I feel like I'm finally living instead of just surviving." "Good." Damien smiled. "You've exceeded every expectation, Maya. You're one of the strongest vampires I've ever sired. Not just physically, but emotionally. You took everything the world tried to make you feel and transformed it into power. Because you showed me I could," Maya said. "You saw me when everyone else looked through me. You told me I was perfect when the world said I needed to change. That changed everything. You were always perfect, Maya. I simply helped you see it." Damien paused. "What will you do now? You have immortality ahead of you, centuries to become anything you want." Maya looked out at the Seattle skyline. The city that had once felt suffocating now felt full of possibility. "I think I'll start by helping other people see their own worth. There are so many people out there being systematically diminished. Maybe I can't transform them all, but I can show them they deserve to take up space." Damien's smile widened. "I knew you were exceptional." "No," Maya corrected gently. "I'm just finally letting myself be who I always was."